Hello everybody, Skyrain here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. Alright, here we go. It's patch note time already. I actually honestly forgot about this, so kind of a pleasant surprise. But nonetheless, we're going to do a cross-reference on this one, of course, with the notes, because some things are actually kind of funny, and certain things got left out, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and get into it right now. Now, the music's probably going to cut out because I have multiple monitors here doing this, and I need to be able to see them while I'm doing this a lot easier, so hang on a minute. Alright, so the usual fare, okay? The usual standard fare. We have the global notes on the left, we have the Chinese patch notes on the right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it first. We're going to talk about the new essences on the way. So as you can see here, first funny point I wanted to make, and they did this in the global patch notes, mind you. The global patch notes. Congratulations yet again to Blizzard for being very, very bad at doing what, you know, they had one job here. They had one job, and good lord. Anyway, all right, so first we got the shoulders. I'm going to go over these very well. Actually, yeah, I'm going to kind of go over most of these to a certain degree here. You can see them on the screen right now. What I want to point out here is, let's see, the pants. Okay, so we have the pants. The ground stomp now smashes the ground, conjures an astral spirit that performs multiple ground stomps before disappearing. So it's more akin to the chains effect with how this is going to probably spam, but it's going to be a ground stomp. All right, so there's the pants. Now, if you take a look at the main hand weapon here in its description, ground stomp now smashes the ground, causing an astral spirit. They listed this essence twice on two different pieces of gear. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, that can't be right. So if we take a look over at the Chinese patch notes, the main hand here instead, right? Yeah, so the main hand, Google translated, of course, so it's going to be a little bit rough in what it's actually called. This Savage Earthshout main hand. Leap now jumps to a designated location, dealing AoE damage to the landing location. Can be used multiple times in a short period of time. So Leap is now pretty much the Hammer of the Ancients, in that you can do it multiple times in succession. And, of course, as it says here, can be multiple times in a short period of time. Each time dealing more damage and AoE than the previous one. So yeah, there's your new Hammer of the Ancients effect with this combination, right? So that's the change to that one. But it's just hilarious that, you know, the global Blizzard patch notes, they didn't proofread their stuff very well at all. And yeah, so they put the same essence description on two different pieces of gear. That's terrible. You had one job again, Blizzard, and you failed. But anyway, moving on. As you can see, let's put this on the screen long enough so I'm not going to read every single one of these, but I'm at least going to leave them on the screen long enough to where you can see them for what they are, right? Okay, so I'm going to do, let's see, Blood Knight here. I'm going to line it up with the Chinese patch notes over here. Wild Rider is the Blood Knight, which is funny. And the only reason I could tell that is once we got to the skill description, Shadowlance. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Nothing off between these two for Blood Knight, so everything on the screen is as it stands. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary on this one. So there you go. Again, these are always the pause when you need to kind of ordeals. And then, you know, enhance wherever you need to, and then I will probably list the patch notes, at least the global patch notes anyway, in the description or in the pinned comment somewhere, possibly whenever I put this one up. So I'll try to remind myself to do that, mind you. Okay, so there's that Blood Knight. Onto Crusader here in the global. I gotta find it. They're not in the same order, which is also kind of irritating. I was like, man, you guys, you're supposed to be sharing notes with each other, yet you don't put everything in the same order, which is really irritating too. The Crusader one's kind of funny. Okay, so here's Crusader in the Chinese patch notes, and yeah, and here they are over how's that gonna translate here? Oh, that's gray. I don't like that. Let's take that off. But in the global patch notes, Crusader here. Blessed offense. Blessed. B-L-E-S-T. Well, I guess that's the new term the kids use these days to call, instead of hashtag blessed, it's now B-L-E-S-T. Because if you see over in the Chinese patch notes, they actually, in the Google English translation here, it says blessed, B-L-E-S-S-E-D, the proper way, assault pants. So I find this absolutely comical, just because I was like, who is proofreading this stuff? What intern do you have running this kind of thing? But anyway, as you can see, anyway, here it is. This is everything else is fine. It's just, they just are just, I don't know. This is just hilarious to me. But yeah, all these match up. So there you go for Crusader. Between the two notes, that's the only difference for Crusader. Some interesting ones to use here and keep an eye out for. Honestly, everybody should always, of course, read through these notes and read what the other classes do, even if you don't play the other classes, because it does help to be aware of what their new abilities are going to be when you go into PvP, and then you have to kind of, obviously be on alert and watch out for certain attacks and try to find ways to at least attempt to counter, which honestly, a lot of these now are going to be much, much harder to counter, and I feel like this is kind of leaning far, far further into, the area of being problematic, and their poor attempts to balance things already. Things in particular here, there is, some of the classes are getting more disabling dashes abilities and these essences, and I'm like, well, we already got that recently with one of the gems, the 1-star gem, even we got that recently, and now we're getting more essences for certain classes. Not all classes, but certain classes are getting even more immobilization effects, and some are getting more you cannot attack or move effects put on you from certain classes, and I'm like, that's a bit overboard. Especially in the PvP space, when you do a complete lockdown to where you cannot attack or move, and then the enemy has free reign on you in a PvP game of any type, that's terrible. That means that's even more of a crutch. It's right up there with immunity in a PvP game. The immunity in this has gotten way out of hand. The effects now that they're adding too many, to the point of obscene. For now, you cannot move or attack in this, and they're getting out of hand, and they wonder why there's like balance issues of that nature too to go along with it, which just makes it all the more worse. So I think they really need to start kind of tacking off some of this stuff, but they're actually going the opposite direction into worse. So if only they'd actually listen a bit better to the community at large. But anyway, all right, been on that one long enough. You got plenty of time to read it. All right, here we go. Demon Hunter now. Nothing too out of the ordinary on this one is either between the two sides, but some of these can be pretty nasty. Granted, it's a trap build, but this one here, the helmet, let's see, Sentry now summons a rope turret that fires at surrounding enemies, a rope turret, attaching ropes and pulling them in. So kind of a barbarian chains effect. Affected enemies are unable to use dash skills. This is what I was talking about. Here's another one. So now Demon Hunter gets one. Affected enemies are unable to use dash skills and will be stunned if they move outside the turret's range. So not only can you not dash away, but once you move outside of the range of the turret, you get stunned. So this is a scenario of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I found this one to be kind of interesting, and honestly, it kind of sucks in reading it for what it is. So it's like, no matter what you do, you're kind of stuck next to the turret if they use it, right? Okay, so there you go. everything else is pretty much the same, and nothing's different between the two sides here. So I'm just gonna leave this up for a little bit longer. And now we move down to monk. All right, let me find monk over here. I don't think there was anything else in this one as well that was off. I do like the fact that the the Google Translate for monk, Hadouken. You're performing Hadouken as a monk, so there you go. But anyway, back to it here. Let's see this one. Oh yeah, this one here has a really, really nasty one too. Here it is. The pants, the new essence for the pants. Breath of Heaven now deals damage to nearby enemies and turns them into golden statues. So this is basically a chip of the stone flesh effect with an essence instead of a gem. Right? Preventing them from moving or attacking. This again is what I was talking about. I mean, Necros already have that with their permafear abilities, and this one now Monk gets one too. So yeah, we're leaning a little too much into these for a PvP environment. It's never honestly a good thing, and this just makes things all the more imbalanced and toxic. But whatever. But here we go. Once free from the gold, enemies will take additional damage relative to the damage they received as a statue. So yeah, this is literally Chip of the Stone Flesh in its effect, I think, with this essence for Monk on the pants. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, Necromancer, of course. Necromancer gets the mount piece, which nobody else gets now. I mean, obviously, Crusader had the horse mount all this time. Now, Necromancer gets one. So, yeah, not really. It's a, it's a take on Necromancers because it's, a beast of a bone beast that you're going to be riding around on. Let's see. Yeah, Bone Spike, no, right here, the helmet piece. Now grants you a mount, increasing your movement speed and making you immune to knockback effects. Your mount damages and knocks back enemies as it moves. So the mount itself gets a knockback effect added to it and damage. And you are immune to knockback. Maybe not to CC in that case, so there's something to consider when trying to find some kind of counterplay here, but who knows? We won't know that for sure until we see it in action. Yeah, so now Necromancers are like Crusaders. Even further, because they both have massive circle rings that they can have, and now they're just going to be like Crusaders even further. I don't know. It's kind of retracting from how each of the individual classes have their own individuality and how their character makeups are. But so I don't know how I feel about some of these changes. But anyway, there you go. That's Necromancer on the screen. Pause. And moving on. Tempest. All right, Tempest Mistblade in the Google Translate for the Chinese notes. Nothing out of the ordinary in this one either, fortunately enough. So they got better as they went further along here, apparently. See, anything of note on this? Oh, this one also has a... Tempest really needed this one already, right? With their amount of dash that they get. Now, honestly, though, well, no, they still have the CC break no matter what, depending on what they're wearing. So that's still in effect, and that's probably never going to change. So they're always going to be running that essence, I feel, and they're never going to take that one off to where they have to, they will always have the CC break dash with a flowing strike on at all times. But here's one. The helmet, the helmet piece. Blade Dance now pulls all nearby enemies to you and prevents them from using dash skills. So yeah, we're starting to lean in a little too heavy on this, and again, like I said, only certain classes are getting these into their new essences. Eventually, probably, who knows? Eventually, honestly, every class should have one of those then, because I think Barbarian has one. That's right, their Barbarians get one too. So obviously, the meta classes, most of the meta classes are getting some form of that at some point here, if they haven't already. And yeah, that's. Again, leaning forward into the obscene. Where is it? I know they get one. There it is. The chess piece for barbs. Sunder also reduces enemy movement speed by 30%, and not only does it slow them, but it also prevents them from the use of dash skills for 2 seconds. Yeah, we're getting a little bit crazy with this. Honestly, there's not a lot of counterplay anymore. Very, very little wiggle room in a PvP environment, and I feel like that's pretty detrimental to again counterplay in this game or a PvP game in general. It's I don't know. It's not really the best. I feel choices being made here, but you know it's whatever. That's what they're doing. That's where we're headed. Okay, so Wizard on here, pretty much everything is the same. Let me see here. Yeah, they overlapped like here, like the Ice Guard chest piece right here, and then into the pants, they didn't space it. So this is another essence right here. They just didn't space it. So there you go. Somebody didn't edit that very well in proofreading and doing what they needed to do. You had one job. You had one job again, Blizzard, and you failed. All right, balance changes. Now, these are the same as they stand. They just kind of put them out of order. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll on here just so you can see if you want to on the other side. Balance adjustment. Yeah, these ones here. They're balance and note. And yeah, they kind of slightly changed the format on these ones, but I'll get into that right here. So Shackled Fate, the chain spear range is reduced from 8 to 5. We kind of knew that already, but initially it was going to go 8 to 4, but then it was like, no, that's too much. So now 8 to 5. So you get one more yard instead. So 8 to 5. And then the Hammer of the Ancients, Flickertone, energy generation from skills is reduced from 20 to 10. So there is that. And everything is pretty much the same over here. For the Chinese notes, they just put developer notes in here instead, which is interesting. But yeah, that's the same. Tempest, the Rolling Surf, blade range reduced from 8 yards to 6 yards. I feel like that's fine. Here it is over here, same thing. Crusader, the Yawning Rose, Judgment, fall time of the Fire Blast is increased from 0.5 seconds to a full second. So, I mean, half a second to a second. Take it for what you will on that one. That doesn't sound too terribly bad, but nonetheless. Now, there is an additional note over here. We're going to get to that for Crusader in a moment. Also, with Monk, too. There's also an additional note for Monk here, which is here. They didn't, and now the Chinese notes neglected to put in Monk here under this right here, because this is a Monk ability that they had changed, and they didn't even put Monk in the title for that one. That's funny. But anyway, Inner Sanctuary, the baseline cooldown increased from 20 to 24 seconds. All right, so there is that one. And let's see, Necromancer, the Command Golem, damage reduction. This one's funny the way they worded it. I don't know why. They should have just left it as they did here in the Chinese notes. The damage immunity effect of the legendary equipment during the transformation into the golem is reduced from 50% to 40%. Okay, so there's the damage reduction is reduced. Over here, for whatever reason, they decided to say damage reduction is reduced to 40% from the 50%. So anyway, it's whatever. And then the Grim Scythe, the hit radius of the scythes is reduced by a third, 33%. Orbit radius, however, around the player is increased from 2 to 2.5 yards. So that's kind of a weird change there. It's kind of going one way and then right back to the other. So Precious Necromancers, the one developer that still is, you know, it's their favorite class. So they're like, no, we can't nerf my class. And that's why they've been at the top in a lot of builds for so very long, throughout the entire life of the game up to this point. Which is unfortunate developer bias favoritism. and that should not come into play when it comes to balancing, but it does, unfortunately. So anyway, developers note several PvP classes are overperforming in PvP combat, so we're going to reduce their damage potential to bring them more in line with other classes. The changes are aimed around reducing lethality by adjusting range and frequency, which is aimed to not affect their, and this is aimed to not affect their overall PvP or PvE output, which honestly, let's face it, it doesn't matter what you do in PvE for the most part anyway. You're not really missing out on much. Okay, so here we go. Additionally, considering the recent increases to damage reduction for range classes, this one I found interesting too. Here we go. Again, the dev being all favoritism towards Necros, but additionally, considering the recent increases to damage reduction for ranged classes, we're increasing the defensive capabilities for Necromancers to bring them closer to where they were prior to increasing their baseline damage reduction. This statement in itself is kind of all over the place, but I'm like, well, wait a minute. You've already given us all the range classes the increase in the defensive overall modifier, right? So why are you doing what you're mentioning here, saying what you're increasing it further? And the Necromancers, when they're in Golem, even in low reso, they're already obscenely tanky. So I hope that doesn't mean that they're going to be even that much more buffed. I don't know. Take it for what you will. It feels weird reading that, and it feels weird overall for them even mentioning that. So anyway, and then the following change is a bug fix. They said this is a bug fix, but they just went and changed it as a balance adjustment over here in the Chinese notes. The Conjuration of Light, the baseline for satyrs, okay? Cooldown is increased in the original map, right? From 26.1 seconds to 29 seconds, and then the effect duration will be reduced by 50% if you use it again within 16 seconds. Now, they mentioned it here. Oh, this is the newest Battleground map. Okay, so apparently they didn't transfer, obviously, the original Battleground map effects into the new map. So all this time, the Crusaders had the old shield stacking abilities in effect for the bubble on the new map, but now, after this patch, it will be adjusted to be same now between the old map and the new map and how that applies. All right, so they, for whatever reason, they left that out. I don't understand how they code stuff sometimes. It's pretty much all over the place and crazy. But now it's going to be same with the bubble, right? All right, now here we go. Our current event center, the Iron Stockpile events, and this is pretty much standard on both patch notes here. But what's going to apply for points to the current event center that we have still going on is Fractured Plains coming back around in Wild Brawl. That's it. So that's the only other events you're going to be getting to get some more points for the current event center that we got, is those two events. So get in on them when they come around, cap them out, I would say just do the minimum amount required in both of those to get it done, and get in, get out, and move on. The events in general here, like returning events, Alley of Blood, 18th through the 21st of April. That's a weekend event. All clans on deck is a little bit longer because they want you to get enough time so you get that one done. But a lot of these, Adventurer's Path, 26th through May 4th. A lot of these returning events and whatever else now, ever since they made the adjustment to the event center as it stands in its new iteration, a lot of these feel like complete afterthoughts now because they really don't contribute as they used to in the past. They all used to contribute whenever they would cycle them through, and I actually preferred that better. This one, there's only a certain amount that apply to the event center now, and they don't really contribute anymore, and again, they feel like more of an afterthought than anything else. You might get some scrap, you might get some gold, that kind of thing, but nothing overly spectacular. In some cases, you do get battle pass points, so those are good ones to do and get in and make the most of when they come around. But they need to do something better with these events, honestly. They need to make them a little bit more substantial and a little bit more you know, impactful to your character progression than what they have now, because they've honestly like diminished a lot of these. All right, this one's interesting here. The feature updates. The legendary gem pool drop changes again. After this update, some legendary gems will be removed from the standard drop pool to make it more efficient, with the total number of gems in the drop pool now being 48. The gems that were selected to be removed were based off of the gems that were selected during the based off the gems that were selected the least during the latest modified gem drop pool. So that's how they are tracking and, you know, getting the data from us, is when they do these things in game, which is fine. Honestly, that's honestly how it should be. But and so, which was available on March 25th. So that's when they collected that data. So here we are. Now the number of gems for each quality, 1, 2, and 5-star gems, is now 16. The removed legendary gems can be re-added to the pool by self-selection. We had that option before, so don't fret if it's actually one that you really want to have in the drop pool. So here we go. Following this update, legendary gems will be removed from the standard drop pool. They're removing the Hilt of Many Realms, and of course that one is more or less has been a flop since they introduced it. It's pretty crazy because that's one of the more semi-recent 5-star gems. But yeah, it didn't get a lot of play, and here we are. So that one's getting removed. I don't think anybody's really going to miss that one, honestly. Tears of the Comet is kind of a weird one in a sense, but I don't think anybody's really using that one to its fullest potential either. So that one's the 2-star being removed, which is fine, I feel. And if you absolutely really need, the easiest part on the 2 and 1-star, the Black Rose one kind of surprised me a little bit, but in all actuality, these you can craft. If you absolutely want to use these and need them, you can craft these with the telluric fragments. No big deal there. These are the easiest ones to build up, mostly the Black Rose in this case, obviously. But the Black Rose still got a lot of play for, you know, the lockdown of the CC and a lot of, from all players, honestly, in PvP especially. So that one kind of sort of surprised me, but it is what it is. And there you go. So, but again, the 2 and 1-star gems you can easily craft if you really absolutely need them. So, and you can put them back into your drop pool if you want, but I don't see a point in it. All right, now this one we have just some quality of life stuff. Mountains of Vane and the Darkwood boss timer has been, they've added a boss timer on the sidebar somewhere, so that you're aware of, you know, how long the respawn is, that's actually honestly pretty nice, especially for those that need to get the Herodric Sanctum gems and such for Mountains of Vane anyway. Oh no, actually, in the Darkwood one too. Yeah, the Blood Rose and all that. Yeah, that one. So that's good. That's good. They added that in. Season 12 Challenge Rift. Obviously, the season 11 is going to be ending on the 28th. And the new season comes in, so they're raising the level from 450 to 500, and the combat ratings for levels, now it's very specific here, the combat ratings for the levels of 431 to 450 will be lowered, but just those ones. So that's very interesting. I mean, it's the previous levels, yes, to a certain extent, but only from 431 to 450. So there you go. A little bit of catch up to free-to-play and low-reso players with lower combat ratings, of course, for these ones, and there you go. So that's a little bit helpful. Helicore changes here. They didn't really list too much on the global notes, and I'm going to get into that here because they left a lot of nice stuff out. It's in the Chinese notes here, so we'll go ahead and get to that. Helicore changes, though. The opening of the Helicore quest line will now be unlocked at level 60. Previously, it was 36, so that's kind of a nerf in a sense, but I kind of understand it at the same time. And then also a note here, you will need to complete this quest line to change from difficulties from normal to Hell 1. So there is that. We'll get to more Helicore changes here in a second. Really quickly, let's finish out the global notes. The changes to Destruction's Call, the zone PvP event. We're making some changes. Being placed in a match, you'll only be placed in the Destruction's Call arena once there is enough players to begin a match, allowing you to continue playing while waiting for a match to begin. And additionally, Destruction's Call will now be available to help you get into other matches. So, okay. And now they added a change here in the Chinese notes. They're saying it now supports cross-server confrontation. Players from other servers can compete on the same field. So they didn't mention that at all in the global, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when it goes live if it has cross-server, as it says here in the Chinese notes. They left it out. They left it out. I don't know why. And then also, let's see here. Oh yeah, they made some changes for the raids and some more here. Let's go ahead and get into it on the Chinese notes. They left out a lot, honestly, the other one. Okay, so here is challenge rifts. That's fine. That's the same stuff here. This one here, it won't be changed until after the gauntlet season ends, but reduce the inability to attack the crab. So less immunity, less downtime on the crab boss, which is glorious for gauntlets. Or not just gauntlets, but raids in general. This is a definite plus. I like this. Again, too much immunity in game. It's just the point of it got ridiculous, so I'm glad to see that one. And again, like I said, it's not applying until after the season. The gauntlet is over and restarts, so you'll have to wait for it to the 28th, which is pretty crazy. So it doesn't affect the leaderboards, is why they're doing that one. Single player challenge optimization. So this is nice if you're doing a solo run on the raid bosses, if you just want to knock it out for whatever reason. They changed the flower boss. The flower boss in raids. They extended, once you take out a flower, if you're fighting it by yourself, the regen time they've increased on those, so it takes longer for the flowers to come back up, so you have more of a chance to do it by yourself and not have to fight against the flowers as hard as before. So that's kind of nice. And then also another note on the crab again here, single player challenge of the crab. So I guess if you have 2 players, it's going to still be the same. Somehow it will register you as going in by yourself if obviously if you are going solo, and this is when it only affects or it has these changes. The countdown regeneration for the legs after they've been destroyed has been extended. So same kind of mechanic as the flowers with the legs on the crab. So that's nice. I'm glad to see they put that in. So that's quality of life improvement there for raids. After creating a demon team through... Okay, this is the auto matchmaking for a raid challenge. Okay, let's see. After creating a team and completing the challenge, the formed team will no longer be automatically disbanded immediately. So you will stay in that one this time, and you can actually proceed if you want to go on to for other challenges. So that one's kind of nice in that regard. Before it was like one and done. And then if you know, especially in the lower levels and the lower raids, when you're not calling out in chat and you're behind, you're in the previous difficulties, not the server end game stuff. This one is kind of nice. I'm glad to see they did this. And then also it says here, in team created by system matching, non-team leader members can now also operate to add system assistance teammates. So either... I'm not sure if that means you can add spectral allies or if you can add, other people of your own suggestions in it or not. And that's the non-team leader. So I don't know. That might be a little too spammy and a little bit messy, but still nonetheless. Okay, there we go. And then, of course, the problem fixes here. Let's go ahead and read these ones because they don't put them at all in the global notes. They just have bug fixes. So for the Chinese side here, the Chinese patch notes... fix the problem that... Oh, yeah, this one here. Fix the problem. Now, I don't know if it's in-game yet or if it's going to be with this update. Fix the problem that we basically had. The ping-pong monks, they would go perma-invisible. They supposedly fixed that. So, I don't know whether it's in-game now or not. Honestly, we'll have to wait, just kind of play as it goes. I haven't seen it too much recently myself, so maybe that has been already fixed in game. They did that behind the scenes. or it's something that's going to be coming with the patch. So there you go. That's definitely nice. It was pretty problematic. It was still going on here and there, I've seen too, so it might not be until this patch is going live for this to actually take effect. But that's good. They finally found that. I knew that was going to be an issue because the netcode and the servers cannot handle this kind of stuff they've implemented into the game. They just can't. Their servers are not that great. And for them to design certain things like this, I'm like, hold up, do you guys realize what you're doing? So yeah, fix the problem that, let's see, the trap beast could not trigger. These ones are a little bit more rougher, and they're Google translations here, so you can try to look at them for what you will here. Demoralizing roar of the barbarian, fear, sometimes fail to hit the boss monster in the crown realm scene mechanism. That is kind of roughly translated, so take that for what you will. And let's see, this is a Blood Knight ability here. Equipment root of extinction had a chance to cause damage to itself when using skills during this soul erosion madness state. Again, Google translation is a little rough here in these ones. And this one's here. This one, I don't know if it's a Terror Rift or a Abyssal Verge. Fix the problem that the ancient elite refresh may be abnormal in the Mountains of Vain map in the Demon Prison Maze gameplay. So that sounds more like Abyssal Verge, but it could be also a Terror Rift. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, there you go. So there is the notes back and forth as they stand. Let me go ahead and finally get back into the game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about all these changes here. I didn't mean to go on for quite this long, but honestly, there were certain things that needed to be hashed out between the two sides. If you hung in there the entire time, more power to you guys. I definitely do appreciate you guys as always. Let me know what you think if you like these cross-examinations of the patch notes, as I've always done when it comes to these things. I try to cover as much as possible. If I would have read out the new essences, that would have taken that much longer, and I didn't want to. And honestly, I didn't realize I went this long because I wasn't able to see my recording until just now time. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. Stay safe out there in the real world and fire as always, everybody. Take care of yourselves as best you can, one day at a time. It's all we can do. It's the best we can do. Until next time, see ya.